All right, check it out. FEMA and FCC, right from FEMA website, okay? FEMA and FCC plan nationwide emergency alert tests for October the 4th, 2023. Text messages will be sent to all TVs, radios, and cell phones, and anything connected to the internet with a battery in it. So just be careful on this day, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Watch this. The Gregorian calendar under Pope Gregory, before it was the Julian calendar, and they were switching over to the Gregorian calendar. That's why it's called the Gregorian, Pope Gregory, who names the months after pagan gods. This guy's a Catholic, a pope, supposed to love Jesus, yet names a month after pagan gods. That's a little suspect. And we know his coat of arms and all these other things. The Jesuits, Pope Gregory started, and all these other things, right? But most prevalent of all the things he's done is the Gregorian calendar. But what do? They eliminate 10 days. In 1582, October 4th, remember we talked about October 4th. October 4th of 1582, they just skipped the 10 days. And guess what those 10 days were? During the Feast of Tabernacles, which coincidentally enough is also October 8th is the Shemini Atzeret, that great and last day of Tabernacles this year. So the 4th to the 14th was just removed, gone. The Jews didn't get their Feast of Tabernacles that year, and you can even go to Hebrew calendar, and you can see right in there, these 10 days are not accounted for because of the Julian calendar switch in 1582. October 4th to the 14th were removed, so these 10 days are not accounted for, right? God is going to reclaim those days. Now, if it be this Shemini Atzeret, this October 8th, wouldn't that be great? I hope so. This is not about setting dates. This is about sharing this type of information. In studying these things, look what's revealed, right? And people want to hate on us for this. This is insane to me. So October 4th to the 14th, removed from the calendar. FEMA has a thing for October 4th, a test, right? And coincidentally enough, the day after October 8th is the 9th, right? You can look at every watch advertisement and it always shows 10:09. 10:09 and 36 seconds to be precise. And they say it's because it looks like it's smiling and it's an advertising thing. But what if? Because they show it even in digital form as well. That is the day after 10:08. October 8th, where their time begins. The Satanist time begins. 10:09, the day after Shemini Atzeret. Just a possibility. This is not date setting. This is a blessed hope. I sure hope it does. I sure hope this happens and we're transformed. Or the tribulation start, the resurrection, whatever it may be. We don't have to agree in the preacher rapture or whatever. We can agree in the resurrection and the tribulation starting. Can we not? So this convergence of all these things are playing out right now. And there's so much more. Let me share this. Deuteronomy 31:10. Moses was 120 years old. So he was called at 80 years old to let the people go, right? Let my people go so that we may hold a feast. This is the Feast of Passover at the Exodus. And he was 80, so 120 is 40. The 40 is a very significant number. So Moses is 120 when he says, and Moses commanded them, because the Lord commanded him to say this, at the end of every 7 years, that's the Shemitah. So at the end, we'll do the math here in a minute. At the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, the Jubilee, in the Feast of Tabernacles. So this means at Shemini Atzeret, that great last day of Tabernacles, at the end of the Shemitah year, which would be the Jubilee year, which is basically the 8th year. So it's basically 888 as well. We know what 888 is. So this is right here, right? The year of release. So it's very interesting, and it'll be fitting that God says, oh, you're going to take my feast away from me? Watch how I get it back. Watch this. God's like, hey, hold my wine chalice. Watch this. You know, like that hold my beer thing? God's like, watch what I do. And he takes his feast back and so the Jubilee is everything is returned to its master, like us being returned to our master. This would be incredible if it happened on October 8th, which is the Shemini Atzeret. It would be very fitting. And look, this is not date setting. This is our blessed hope. The glorious appearing of the great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. If it does happen, that'd be awesome. I hope so. If not, we got to keep searching. Maybe it's not the Jubilee year or the Shemitah, but we know, and Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel is to appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, which a place God shall choose. Thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. So there's a lot more into this too, but it's Shemini Atzeret is that great and last day. The same day, so a lot of things go into Feast of Tabernacles. The Transfiguration story, when Jesus was transfigured, is on the Feast of Tabernacles. It represents him tabernacling with us. Many people think that he was born during the Feast of Tabernacles. It is the great and last days when Jesus stood up. Says on the great and last day, Jesus stood up and he said, "Come to me, all you who are thirsty, and from his belly shall flow forth living water." And then at the end it said, "And every man went each to their own home." They wouldn't have gone to their own home. They would have gone to their Sukkot, their tabernacle. But it says they went home. They went to their own home. Maybe a typology there. Because they should have finished out Shemini Atzeret by going to their sukkah, right? Because that's to remember them in the desert dwelling in tents. And extrapolate that out to us. This is a tabernacle. This body is a tabernacle. It's a temporary dwelling place. So it'd just be fitting that October 8th be the day, God, because they took it October 4th to the 14th in 1582. They took 10 days away, which was during the Feast of Tabernacles. And these are the Lord's appointed feasts. So they took that away, and God's to say, watch this, watch how I get it back. Possibly, right? Possibly. Now, 2022, we know it's 2023, right? But there's also the Hebrew year and a lot of things that go into this. But if you take 20 times 22, it's 440. So if you go 2022 minus 440, it brings you to 1582. 1582 is the year they removed the 10 days, October 4th to the 14th, removed in 1582. So, but it says, people say, well, that was 2022. This is 2023. No, it's at the end of every 7 years, right? So it could be we got our Shemitah and our Jubilee wrong if nothing happens, or it could be that this is not the appointed time. But though it tarry not. Wait, for it shall come at the appointed time. The appointed time. Whatever that appointed time may be, and this is what we're called to do, is to, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It is the honor of kings to seek out the matter. And this is what we're trying to do, our best. We get attacked, we get mocked, we get scoffed, the wicked and evil servant will be appointed their portion with the hypocrites. We don't want that for y'all. So, isn't this interesting though, that every watch shows 10:09, and that's not 36 seconds. From what I saw, it was 10:09 and 36 seconds is what they ended up on. But it's even in the digital version. It doesn't look like a smiley face in the digital version. So it's after. So also what's very interesting about October 8th is there's many things that go into this. With the eclipses, there's an Aleph. God's mark is all over the United States with the 3 eclipses that are occurring, 888 as well. It's an Aleph. The Aleph, right? The strong ox, God, the Alpha, and the Omega. And the blood moon tetrads being on October 8th again, finally. So Passover tabernacles, tabernacles, those are tetrads. That would be 4 blood moons. And this would happen this has happened many times, but it's occurring the same days this time. So the blood moon eclipses Passover tabernacles, Passover tabernacles, Passover tabernacles, Passover tabernacles, which is the beginning of the spring feast, end of the fall feast. Beginning of the spring feast, end of the fall feast. Blood moon tetrads. And it's all converging at this time. All these things, So FEMA has this thing for October the 4th. Be careful with your phones and everything on that day. I would recommend shutting them off. But that's not even